Hello, I'm Matt Everett. Welcome to Christie's here in London for a remarkable snapshot at a remarkable auction. This is the David Gilmour Guitar Collection, a staggering collection of instruments from David Gilmour, the songwriter, guitarist and singer with Pink Floyd, from his own personal collection. He's auctioning off these guitars for charity, and so we thought we'd give you a bit of a snapshot of what's going to be up for sale. And we have here, helping me, guitar expert Kerry Keane. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
It makes sense to start with perhaps the most iconic guitar in the collection, and certainly one of the most important electric guitars in the whole of the popular music and rock world. I think that's fair to say.
I think it's very fair to say, no, without a doubt. This is what is known as the Black Strat. It's in 1969, Fender Stratocaster. David Gilmour bought this in New York City in 1970 from Manny's, the famous Manny's music store on 48th Street, to replace a load of guitars that had been stolen while on that US tour in 1970. For 16 years, it has remained his primary performance platform through all its permutations of different repair work and changes and alterations in his desire to sort of fit his sound to that guitar. It's had no fewer than 6 different necks fitted in it over its lifetime.
It is, yeah, it's just forever completely associated with him, isn't it?
It truly is. And originally it had a white pickguard on it, and then at one point he put a black pickguard on it. Very unusual, especially for a black finish guitar, and that's when it got its name, the Black Strat.
So let's have a bit of a look. There are, as we say, many, many instruments here. What's interesting for me especially is the kind of breadth of guitar history that's represented here. There is something for everyone from everywhere, isn't there?
There is an embarrassment of riches here for a guitar specialist like myself. I mean, we're in a room right now that illustrates, I think, the whole development of the guitar in North America. We've got one of the earliest electric guitars ever produced, and that's a Rickenbacker. We've got guitars made in Brooklyn, New York by Fred Gretsch. We've got Leo Fender's early works from Fullerton, California. We have a guitar made in Linden, New Jersey by the Ampe Company. I mean, that kind of says it all right here.
Okay, this is kind of been nicknamed the concert room because there's lots of guitars that have been played live, and we have this amazing footage of David playing in Pompeii. What should we look at now? Because there are some real rarities in this collection.
There are certainly some rare rarities, and I think probably the most rarest example within this collection would be this, the 1957 Gretsch White Penguin.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is exquisite, and that white just sort of pops out against the gold inlay and gold plating. This was the top of the pinnacle for the Gretsch Company. It was the most ostentatious guitar that they made, and it built on, as you can see, on a Les Paul outline. Though Fred Gretsch did a few different things with this instrument as opposed to the Les Paul. Most notably, the Gretsch Company made drums.
Yeah.
And drums often have that sparkle finish on the outside, that plastic that's wrapped around the pot. And here, to decorate his guitars, he went down into the drum section and he would have them take this sparkle plastic, and he decorated his guitars with them.
And this is very rare.
Very rare. Of the White Penguins, no one's quite sure how many were made. Really? Historian Edward Ball says maybe 50, but probably less.
As few as that?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty special.
Yeah, it's a spectacular piece.
So this is a project you've been working on for about a year, and it's a document of David's musical life, isn't it?
It is, without a doubt. I think this becomes the sort of physical embodiment of David Gilmour's performance career, and a career that's still very vibrant and still very much happening to this day. He's a great lover of guitar, great lover of guitar music, and I think certainly one of the top rock guitarists ever to come down the pike.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of what he'd look for in a guitar. I mean, how would he be? What would he be thinking if he was out to go and buy a new instrument or an old instrument?
He was very tactile in his choosing of instruments. It was first how it felt, and then it was tonal quality. Whether it was an electric or it was an acoustic guitar, he would sit down, he'd play the guitar, and how did it resonate in his lap? And then if it was an electric guitar, he'd say, if it sounds good in my lap, before it's plugged in, it's going to be even better when I plug it in. Hence, I think the next guitar that I find most important in this in this collection, which is the red Stratocaster.
Yeah, we have a lot of black Strats, but this is another guitar that's associated specifically with him. What makes this special? Why did he keep playing this for so long?
In 1985, he retires the black Strat, if I have that date right, and I might have it wrong. But in 1984, he goes to the Fender warehouse, the UK Fender warehouse in Enfield, and has a great invitation to come in, look through guitars, and in 2 different visits, he sits down and he plays a numerous number of Stratocasters, and he picked out this one, along with a white one. And it's a 57V, V for vintage. In the mid-'80s, it's when Fender starts looking back to sort of reinvent the great history that they had. Things had sort of deteriorated in quality in the 70s, and Fender designers and the luthiers there said, you know, what were we doing right in 1957?
Let's go back and capture the spirit.
And this is a wonderful reproduction. Most importantly is the shape of the neck. It has this sort of curved feel to the back. It's often called a V-neck. You only see these in 57. It bleeds over a little bit in 56 and ever so slightly in 58. But 1957 is the sweet year. And that V-neck is what rock and roll guitarists love, without a doubt. And this guitar then became his primary performance instrument for the next 20 years.
Wow. We should say as well, if you come and visit, which you can do, as we say, it's open to the public, it's free for anyone. Just go to christies.com. You can have a go on the black Strat. Not the black Strat, it's a replica, but it's still a cool thing to do. So just go to christies.com. So all these amazing instruments, what was there anything specific that kind of surprised you, that was a little bit unexpected, that kind of came through your hands?
Without a doubt. In my first visit, while going through looking at these instruments, I was handed this, a Vega 5-string banjo, and I was a little taken back that David Gilmour has a 5-string banjo, and I learned that he plays it. As a young boy, as a young teenager, he played a little banjo. He plays mandolin, he plays guitar, he plays piano, he plays saxophone. He's a multi-instrumentalist. And I think him coming from this folk tradition as a young teenager, it only made perfect sense that he played the banjo.
Yeah. It's also really interesting to hear when he talks about the guitars. We get slightly breathless around some of these instruments, but for him, they're tools of the trade. They are objects to be used.
True. They're not overly precious for him, and he has always remained with that messaging that this is an instrument, and musical instruments are, though we look at them as sculpture and we look at them as wonderful objects, he's the first one to say it doesn't come alive until it's handed into the hands of another artist.
Yeah.
Who fulfill its destiny.
Yeah.
I think that's very true with all musical instruments.
Talking about sort of destiny and history, we've been talking a lot about Stratocasters. We have an instrument that has a mythology all of its own. Does it not? Here,
it does.
This particular Fender Strat. What can you tell me about this? It's kind of famous. It's a bit of a rock star of, you know, this and the black Strat.
David Gilmour has said that of all the Stratocasters he owns, this one is perfect. He said, it doesn't get any better than this. He has done no alterations to it. It is as he purchased it. And and there is quite a bit of mythology wrapped around this guitar. You know, on closer inspection, first we look, it's got gold plating on it, very fancy. It has a gold anodized pick guard on it. While we look at the backside of the guitar, and I'm just going to slide around you, it has a serial number that says 0001. Now, that might lead us to believe that it's the first Stratocaster. It's anything but.
Right.
We know that Leo Fender, in 1954, 1955, after the release of the Stratocaster, would make custom guitars, a number of them, place this serial number on them, and give them to those people who helped in the design of the Stratocaster, and musicians who helped bring it forward to the public. And it's our research that this is exactly the story with this guitar. It has had a lot of road wear on it. It's been played lovingly prior to David Gilmour owning it. And it has, you know, I see a guitar like this, I say, it's got a lot of mojo.
It's infused with a lot of music, a lot of performance.
Without a doubt.
You know.
You know, that wonderful sort of James Brown disco chop in the Wall, part 2, that was done on this guitar.
That beautiful, kind of almost funk strumming.
Yes, exactly. It's fabulous.
So if that's, in some ways, as far as David's concerned, that might be the perfect Stratocaster. For him, if we have the yin to the yang, this is a Les Paul. For him, maybe the perfect Les Paul.
I think so. You know, I have always said, you know, it's obligatory for all rock guitarists to own a Les Paul. and when Mr. Gilmour purchased this guitar, I believe it was about 1978, he was looking for a Les Paul. He has said, you know, it's always great to play something different, a different feel. It challenges the musician. But Les Pauls are most famous for those made from 1957 onward that have double coil pickups known as the humbucking. This is a guitar from 1955, and it has single coil P90s. These wonderful cream colored pickup covers referred to in the parlance of guitar collectors as soap bar pickups. What is extraordinary about this guitar is gold top, which was standard for the Les Paul, but most notably all gold in the back.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very rare. Only a few of these were made. And there's our serial number on the back, 58225. And 5 stood for the last digit of the year, 1955.
And it got played and recorded and used.
It did, without a doubt. This is the guitar used for the solo on the Wall of the Wall Part 2. And used not only in recording, but extensively on touring and performing.
It's a beautiful thing. We did talk about, you mentioned David's love of folk and his past and his influences early on. And acoustic guitars are very well represented in this exhibition.
They are, and it's not surprising, and I didn't know what to expect when I first was presented with looking at these guitars, but when I saw the acoustic guitars roll out, and then I learned a little bit more about his history as a young player, as a young teenager. He learned to play the guitar from Pete Seeger's How to Play the Guitar method. So he was a folkie at heart. And I think that brings a different timbre and different feel to his music. His heroes were Leadbelly, Pete Seeger, Woody Guthrie, the Everly Brothers, you know, early rock and roll with acoustic guitars. And in New York, in about 1972, they're starting a North American tour, and he needs a good acoustic guitar. He heads back to Manny's, where he'd been a year before, where he bought the Black Strat, and he's about to walk in the door to buy himself a guitar, and a gentleman on the street says, hey, buddy, what are you looking for? And he says, I'd like to buy a guitar, thank you. And he said, well, I have one here. Opens up the case. On the street corner, 48th Street in the middle of Manhattan, and there is this D35. He says he gets down on his hands and knees, he strums it a few times, he plays it a bit. He said it was a phenomenal guitar, it's lovely. And he purchased it right there on the street and didn't get to darken the doors of Manny's music store. Again, important instrument for him. It was the primary acoustic guitar that he used for all his studio work. It was the guitar he did most of his compositions on. There are a multitude of photographs of him, be it in his flat or in a recording studio or in a sound booth. This guitar is always by him, and it is it's a phenomenal instrument.
This is the guitar that Wish You Were Here was played on, which is arguably maybe one of the greatest acoustic guitar sounds ever committed to tape.
That wonderful warm opening in that.
Yeah,
just terrific. Yeah.
It's fantastic. That's just a snapshot of this incredible collection. As I've said a couple of times, I'll say it again, it is open to the public, it's free. Just go to christies.com for information on how you can see it. It's open in London until March the 31st, and then I believe it travels. The guitars go on holiday. Where are they going?
It does. From here they go to Los Angeles, where they'll be on exhibition in May, and from Los Angeles we take them to New York. They go on exhibition in New York on the 14th of June, and the sale is on the 20th of June.
It's wonderful stuff. Do check out the website. Come and see the exhibition if you can, because it's beautiful. And follow the hashtag Gilmour Guitars on Twitter. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of very excited people taking photos, so go and have a look at that. I just have to say thank you very much, Kerry.
Thank you. Did you bring a flat pick with you?
I'm not going to play. That would be a bad thing. It would be insulting. Enjoy the exhibition. Thanks very much.